Welcome in, I'm Artris, and over the weekend I ended up playing in the Core TCG online regional. I decided to take Rebecca this time around because, well, I usually play Whitebeard and I wanted a little bit more of a challenge, and boy did I get it. Rebecca is definitely a hard deck to pilot. However, I ended up finishing 22nd out of 512 with a 7-2 record, so not too shabby overall. I think I was the top placing Rebecca player, which that also feels nice, although I wish that there were more Rebeccas in the top 16 or top 32. So maybe next time we'll get more Rebecca players rising up. But anyway, before I get into the deck list, which is the point of this video, I want to make sure that you guys know that I have a Discord where in that Discord I want to talk to people about One Piece card game. If you have any questions about the deck itself or just want to talk to somebody about the game, would love to have you. Please join. The link is in the description. Also, please make sure to drop a like and sub for the video if you find anything informative or this video useful in general. It helps out the channel so very much, and I really appreciate the support. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the deck and the deck list. So, as you know, most of you probably know, Rebecca is a leader that cannot attack, and once per turn, if you have 6 or less cards in hand, you can pay 1 Dawn to look at the top 2 cards of your deck and find a Dressrosa type character or card and put it in your hand. So that's the leader itself. I ended up playing this for 9 rounds. It is a combo-oriented control deck, which you have to use your brain a lot while playing it. You have to set pieces up. It's kind of like putting pieces of a puzzle together and solving that. So this deck, overall, before I even go into the deck list, I would probably say make sure you have your thinking cap on for that day, because by the end of it, your brain will be definitely mush. At least mine was by the end of that day. So yeah, anyway, let's get into the deck list itself without further ado. So running 4 Gats, this is a Dressrosa type 2K counter, which on play up to one of your Dressrosa type characters can also attack active characters during this turn. Most of the time I use this for a 2K counter, but there were situations against like Zoro or Law where I ended up using this to give another character on the board the ability to attack active characters and kind of clear something if I need to get the board clear. But most of the time it is a 2K. Next, I'm running 4 of the Bartos, which the Barto is a great utility 2K counter. It has obviously 2K, but also it has blocker. So if you need it to be a blocker, you can throw it down and feel a little bit more protected to be able to like infinite combo essentially, right? If you can't use a 2K counter to be able to survive, you can throw this down and potentially be able to just block attack that you know that you won't be able to counter out of. Next, I'm running 3 Suru, which the whole thing with this deck, there's a lot of people that will say, oh, run Tashigi, or you should run Suru. I personally think that Suru is the better choice out of the 2. Initially, I thought Tashigi was the better 2K counter because you can throw it down for 3 Dawn, and it's essentially a body that will soak up an attack for a turn while also having the same effect of minusing 2 on an opponent's character. However, that 3, what I found, is very expensive. There's oftentimes where you're using a lot of your Dawn per turn, and you just don't have enough to be able to throw 3 down and then also be able to play like a Kyros or maybe like a Leo and then also get a leader search off of. So the Suru essentially works like that. So you're able to throw this down on play, -2 to a character, and then you can use a pop effect, whether it be like the Leo or the Kyros. I found this to be a lot more useful, a lot more Dawn efficient. You're saving 2 Dawn in the end. There were times where I played this down and then ended up playing like a Kyros or ended up playing like a Leo, popping something, and then have enough Dawn to be able to leader ability and search for 2 more cards. So super useful. I think the 1 Dawn versus the 3 Dawn, that's up to you at the end of the day. However, I think since this deck is very Dawn intensive, and every turn you need to use the max amount of Dawn, and you're not going to be able to have extra Dawn left to play with, Suru is the better choice in my opinion. So that's it for the 2K counters. I will say I wish I ran a little bit more. I'm running 11 in total, but I would like to run anywhere from 12 to 14. However, this deck is very tight overall, and it's kind of hard to find the room. So let's go over what is the meat and potatoes of the deck outside of the 2K counters. So I'm running 4 Rebecca. This is a searcher. It's basically like your leader ability, except it will find 3 for you, and it's not contingent on if you have 6 or less in your hand. So there are times where you'll have 7 or 8 cards in hand and you can't use your leader ability. You can just throw this down and be able to search with it instead. So very nice. Comes in clutch at certain times. Obviously being able to see an extra card is very good for your search. Overall though, one thing that I will say with this deck is if you open up your hand and your opening hand has a Rebecca in it, like the character Rebecca, don't use it on the opening turn. Always use your leader ability first and then use this card once your leader ability has been used. simply because this can be used as a 1K in case you do want to use your leader ability and then want to counter out with this later. So always keep this in hand if you can before you use your leader ability. I see people do just play the Rebecca down instead of using the leader ability, which I personally don't think that's correct. I'm running 4 Leo. This is a on play, you rest your leader, and if your leader has a Dressrosa type, which it does, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 1 or less, and trash 2 cards from the top of your deck. Basically, this is one of the combo pieces that you will have with or Lumbus, or you can use with Suru, or you'll see later with the Kuzan. This is a very good card early on in the game to be able to take care of some bigger threats like within the 4 to 5 cost range. Obviously, this is a really strong card against like Law or Zoro because a lot of their characters cost 1, so MVP of the deck in those matchups for sure. And at the end of the day, if you can't use this as a combo piece, it's a 1K counter, which is very nice. There are some people that will run 3 of those instead of 4, but I think 4 is the right choice. It definitely, I was happy to see it when it did come up in my matches. Next, I'm running 2 of the Ideo blockers, which I think I would want to run this at 3 instead, but we'll get into like what I think I would change in the deck in a bit. Overall, this is just a simple blocker. You want to throw this down usually with your Sabo so that it will not be KO'd by an effect for a whole turn. If you can't, sometimes you'll just throw it down early and soak up an attack with it. So yeah, overall, this is a decent card, 1K counter at worst, but oftentimes you'll just throw it down as a blocker. Next, we have basically the heart of the deck. We have 4 Kyros. This Kyros is the same thing as Leo. If your leader is Rebecca, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 1, then trash 1 card from the top of your deck. Also, this thing cannot be KO'd unless your leader is rested and also you have a Coliseum that is rested. So basically, it can't be KO'd for the most part. There are times where people will just bottom deck it or whatever it may be, but at the end of the day, this thing is essentially your leader because it can attack, your leader can't, so this thing will throw down early and just get your swing. Kyros definitely put in a lot of work against my matches. I played a lot of Laws and I played a lot of Zoro, so seeing Kyros was pivotal for those matchups, and I have to say, I am glad that I bumped it back up to 4. I was running it at 3 to begin with because I thought, oh, it's counterless and sometimes dead in hand. However, 4 is the right number. I think if you run less than that, you might want to consider like running a Cavendish instead, but overall 4 was the right choice here. Next, we're running 4 Lumbus. This is basically the whole deck itself. You have to have this, you need to see this. This thing will -4 on any character on the opponent's side of the board. You KO a Dressrosa type character on your side and then mill 2 cards. That is basically feeding into the whole deck itself. You want to fill up your trash and then be able to control the board by minusing effects and then KOing something that is a certain number or less. So, or Lumbus, you need to see this. If you're running less than 4, I don't think you should be. This is definitely the card of the deck. I know that Kyros is the heart of the deck, however, or Lumbus is basically the engine that gets everything. So if you're running less than 4, please don't run 4. 4 is the number you need to be running for this. I don't even know why I'm saying that because I think at this point, if you're playing Rebecca, you know that. Next, I'm running 4 Sabo. This is a 6K, 5-drop 6K blocker that on play for a whole turn cycle, none of your cards can be KO'd by card effects and also draw 2, trash 2. This is, every time I say that, it's like a ridiculous thing to me. It's like, this is actually a card in existence. It's really strong. It allows you to filter out your hand for cards that will be better or just toss things that may be dead. Oftentimes, this card is used as just a blocker, but I will say I have used this as an attacker during the games. I think it's really smart to be able to use it as an attacker, and I think a lot of people don't end up doing that. They just let it sit on the field and just let it protect their life. However, if you decide to use this as an attacker and they attack into it the next turn, they're essentially feeding into what Sabo is supposed to be doing, blocking for you. So make sure that if Sabo's on the field and you ultimately feel comfortable doing it, obviously, attack with Sabo. I attack with Sabo more often than not. I'm very aggressive with it, but it is a very strong card. Great in the early game when you can throw it down on curve. It's also great in the late game to protect yourself when you need something that won't be out on the field. Sabo is a great card. Run it at 4, no less. And then the MVP of the deck, which this card wins you all of your games for the most part. 4 of the Luffy, which can basically restand itself by pitching 7 cards from your trash back into your deck. Double attack with King Kong Gun is disgusting. This card, I OTK'd so many times over the tournament with this card. So yeah, 4 is definitely a must for me. I know some people will run it at 3 because it doesn't have counter and you will see it with your leader search. However, I want to see it more often than not. So anytime that I see Luffy and I'm able to throw it down on curve, I usually win those games. So yeah, 4 is, in my opinion, the right number. I think a lot of the cards that I have in this deck are ran at 4, at least the important cards, because I want to see them. Next up, we are running 2 of the 10 cost Kuzan, which on play KO up to one of your opponent's characters at the cost of 0, and then on your turn, give all of your opponent's characters -5 cost. This is a great late game card if you're unable to maintain an Lumbus on the field. This acts as an Lumbus, and a lot of people are not able to remove it. The only thing that can remove it is in blue, or if you're also playing black, they can remove it. However, other than that, this card is not leaving the field, and it basically acts as a catalyst for the rest of your deck. So you can almost kill anything at that point if you have the right cards in hand. Kuzan with a 3000 Worlds gets rid of a 10 cost. Kuzan with a Kyros gets rid of 6 cost. So yeah, this card is amazing. You love to see this card against green, purple, maybe Whitebeard, and definitely yellow. So I put this in specifically because I thought I would be playing a lot of Katakuri. I ended up not playing any, and I played a lot of Zoro and Law, and it's not really good in those matchups, which that's where Sabo comes into effect. If you see the Sabo, you're able to just pitch this aside. I think in the tournament overall, I ended up only playing it 1 time, and it was against a Whitebeard. And I ended up winning the match because of that. But Kuzan, I'm glad I ended up leaving it in the deck. I would recommend keeping it in the deck as a flex spot for yellow. If you can't play it and it's in your hand, Sabo it out. So yeah, 2 is definitely good. I was running 3 initially, but I think 3 is, you're definitely going to see it, and sometimes you don't want to see it because that is your entire turn. Then next, we're running 3 of the Cora Coliseums. This card will enable all of your characters that are Dressrosa type to be able to attack on the turn that they are played, which means that Luffy, on the turn that Luffy is played, can attack active characters twice, which is super strong. You can also attack a lot of Zoro's characters that will be tapped oftentimes. Throw like a Kyros down, KO something, and then swing into something else. So yeah, this card, very strong. You don't want to run 4 because if you see 4, like if you're running 4, you're going to see it, and more oftentimes than not, you're already having one in play, and then the other ones that you see will be dead. One thing to note though is if this is already on the field and you have one in your hand and there's no way to get rid of it, I do recommend just playing it and then getting rid of the other one that's on the field. It just replaces itself, it fills up the trash, and allows you to use your leader ability by dumping your hand in a sense. So yeah, keep that in mind when playing that deck. You can also just toss one down if you already have one on the field and you have nothing else to do. I ended up doing that actually. I think there's a turn where I needed to leader ability and I had a Cora Coliseum on the field. I had one in hand and I had 7 cards. So I just played the Cora Coliseum in hand, basically knocking out the other one, and then used my leader ability to search. So keep that in mind. Next, I'm running 3 King Kong Gun. I wish I could run 4, but it doesn't feel right running 4. This card I love seeing all the time, especially in conjunction with Luffy. Like I said earlier, I have ended up winning a lot of my games through OTK with Luffy, double attack, King Kong Gun, swinging twice, and then just there's nothing that an opponent can do. Plus 6,000 power, double attack. It's just disgusting. Like, this card is just really good. And at worst, if it's in your life and it comes out, you draw 3 trash 2. So it's a graceful charity, essentially. So yeah, amazing card. 3 is the right spot for me. If I ran 2, I didn't see it enough. If I ran 4, I saw it too much. So 3, I think, is the right choice here. Of course, that's up to you if you want to run more or less, but I'd recommend 3. Next, I'm running 2 of the Truno Bastardo. This is a removal card, a removal event, so you can choose up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 4 or less and KO it. If you have 15 or more cards in your trash, then KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less. So this basically can answer a lot of cards on the field for your, like with a conjunction with Lumbus, especially if you're going against yellow. Say that they play a Big Mom and you have 15 cards in your trash, you have an Lumbus on the field, use the Lumbus ability and then play this and you can KO the Big Mom. Also, you can just play this straight up and KO something 4 or less. The other thing that I would do is, in one of my matches against Whitebeard, I had 15 in my trash and they played a Thatch down, and I ended up just playing this and KOing the Thatch because it's 6 cost. The other thing with this is that it has a great trigger, so if somebody is attacking you, it can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with cost 5 or less, which is really, really strong. It happened once. I ended up not using the trigger, which I should have, but it does happen sometimes, and when you do see it, I recommend using the effect. Very strong. The card itself is very good. I don't know if I would want to run more than 2 though. You can search it through your leader ability. Other than that, the other event that I'm about to show you I think is better overall, which is 3,000 Worlds. You might want to run this at 4 overall, but I think 3 for me was the right spot. I saw it when I needed to see it, and it comes in really clutch. Especially if you're going against red, you're going to go against Marcos, and it's really hard to invest time and dawn into KOing a Marco, whether it be through like a Lumbus using your Kyros ability. That I don't recommend, because then they can just, you know, pitch an event and Marco's rezzed. Sure, you're getting cards out of hand, but with this, at least you're guaranteed to just get it out of there. And then also with Lumbus, this card, 3,000 Worlds, is able to bottom deck in Newgate, which I ended up doing in the tournament. Feels really good to only have to spend 8, have a character on board, and then bottom deck their big boss monster. So yeah, 3,000 Worlds was an MVP for me in this tournament. I might want to run it at 4. The only issue with this is you can't search it. So that is obviously a problem, but because I'm running it at 3, I usually will draw into it, whether it be through just natural draw or getting it off of life, or even just saboing and finding it itself. So yeah, that's the deck list itself. I think the deck performed very well. It was mostly tuned to be going against like a yellow, with obviously red being your advantageous matchups. I didn't see a single yellow deck or a blue deck the entire time, which was kind of surprising to me. My matchups overall, I think I went against 4 Law, 2 Zoro, and 3 Whitebeard. The matches I ended up losing were against Whitebeard both times. One of them you can go and watch, I believe on Stage Zero's YouTube channel. It was live streamed, unfortunately, against Will to Win. That was a very close match, and I ended up swinging 19K twice instead of 20K twice. Lost because of that. And then the other match that I lost to Whitebeard, I just didn't see a Luffy the entire time, and have to have Luffy to win. But the other matches against like Law and Zoro and the other Whitebeard match that I won, you just kind of play to your curve, starve out your opponent the best you can, and then go for an OTK towards the end of the game with Luffy double attack King Kong gun. Yeah, overall, I don't think I would change too much from the deck to the next tournament that I'm going to play in. I imagine there's going to be quite a lot of red in the rest of the regionals and treasure cups from here on out for OP04. So I'm gonna probably keep the deck the same. I do imagine I'll run into a few yellow, and if I do, I'll have the Kuzan. I'll be thankful for that. If I could side deck in this game, then I would keep the Kuzans as a side deck option, and then put something else in, maybe like another 2K counter, and then another maybe a blocker. Overall though, I am pretty happy with the deck list. I think after 9 rounds, like I said, my brain was pretty fried. So just keep that in mind when you're playing this. You do have to think a lot and kind of predict what your opponent might be doing next. Overall, I'm very happy with the deck list. I wouldn't change too much. I'm going to probably take this to the next online regional and hopefully do a little bit better than 22. Maybe we can get top 16 and get one of those sweet alt-art 9 drops. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, if you have any questions about the deck, feel free to leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think. I also have some of the videos recorded from my matches over the weekend, and I'll likely do some commentary over those. So if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments as well. Thank you so much for all the support, and I'll see you guys in the next video.